As I mentioned, I've got President Clinton's former chief speechwriter, Michael Waldman, with me. This is something you went through. And in fairness to any White House, it happens to be a Trump White House, which has brought new challenges, but in fairness to any White House, you guys did fight initially how and whether to do any testimony in what was then the grand jury proceeding.
That's right. And remember, the scandal began, the Monica Lewinsky scandal began when he testified in a civil case. And he didn't take it all that seriously. That was when he got himself into trouble. As it unfolded over the course of the next year, he didn't want to testify, but by the summer, it was clear that he had to. What was at least, and it was stressful, there was always an effort, at least in that White House, to keep the business of government moving forward and have other people, a fairly segregated group, deal with the legal issues and the controversy. In the book, Steve Bannon was wishing that they could do that in this White House, but saying, for sure, we lack the discipline and we have Trump. And so that is one of the questions, is if instead of preparing mentally, the president is sitting in bed with a cheeseburger and tweeting, that's not really the way to get ready for something like this that helps the business of government go forward.
And how do you think Mueller would pursue his case in that interview?
In this kind of thing, one of the advantages, in a sense, that Mueller has is Mueller knows what Mueller knows. Bill Clinton, I assume, basically knew what Ken Starr knew. I bet that Donald Trump doesn't know for sure what Bob Mueller knows.
Well, because Ken Starr's best case scenario, from his view as a prosecutor, was taking these contacts, basically, between the president and other individuals and finding something that was a crime or impeachable.
Right. This was really an effort to obstruct justice.
Right. And so that basically meant what he did or didn't do is alleged to have done with these people, or what he did afterward in the cover-up, the proverbial cover-up. All of that, I would observe, touched or allegedly touched the president. Here, we have a very different situation, where you have all of these other questions swirling around the people about Donald Trump. And so did the campaign manager or the family or these others who are having contacts with WikiLeaks, with Russian operatives, with people linked to Russia, what do they all know? So it's very possible that Donald Trump could end up in an asymmetric situation, right?
And where he's basically a witness to the conspiracy to collude or break the law by the people who worked for him. During Watergate, if you actually go back and look at the legal jousting over the tapes, those tapes were seen as evidence in the trial of people like H.R. Haldeman. They were not sought explicitly to tie the noose around Richard Nixon. Of course, once they were heard, they in fact did. And, you know, you've got the potential problems with the campaign. You have the issue of obstruction of justice. And again, you could have a conspiracy to obstruct justice, but it's pretty clear that if a case is to be made, that Donald Trump himself is in the middle of it. And then there are all kinds of other things, ancillary issues or issues with Russian money and the financing of the business that Trump has to wonder what might be coming at him.
We're out of time, but the other question I want to ask you, because you've been through so much of this, is do you remember Bill Clinton ever considering preemptive pardons during that period?
I certainly never heard it. I would not have imagined it. Remember that one of the counts of obstruction of justice against Richard Nixon was that he dangled a pardon in front of the burglars. It's nonsense to say, oh, you can pardon anybody, it's in the Constitution. That in and of itself would be a constitutional crisis.
And that's a fascinating detail you just excavated. Michael Waldman, always good to see you and learn from you.